now. Please take advantage of those. My next guest is Peter Boykin, marchfortrump.net. He wants to talk about the March for Trump that he has scheduled. You can find him on Twitter at Peter Boykin. But Peter, there's actually a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you today about. But let's go ahead and talk about the event that you have coming up first, the March for Trump, and what motivated you to do this. Peter Boykin. Oh, by the way, Peter also hosts MAGA One Radio, which rebroadcasts all of InfoWars live content. So the David Knight Show, the Alex Jones Show, and the War Room. So MAGA One Radio, also a supporter of InfoWars Live. Peter, talk about why you did MAGA One Radio and why you planned the March for Trump.
Well, we've been doing MAGA One Radio for a little bit now. Before InfoWars has been so much banned. So for a good little time there, that was one place that a lot of people can go to. And we've, outreach, trying to make sure that some real good programming. And we've talked about some different programs, but we kind of felt like, InfoWars is a really good thing that needs to be out there. And so it really gets us through the day. And then afterwards, we go into, different programming. Right now, it's basically MAGA First News, which is I do all throughout the day. So we decided that MAGA One Radio is a good network and needs to be out there to kind of help people. And it builds up our MAGA network.
So you're doing that. You've got the LGBTexit that you've got going to, and the March for Trump is an event that you're trying to get some attention on right now. So when is the March for Trump that you have planned?
Okay, so March for Trump is going to be June 15th, the day after Trump's birthday. To make it a little bit easier this time, it's going to be in Greensboro, North Carolina, instead of Washington, D.C. It's just so much stuff's going on in Washington, D.C., and people have a hard time to get there that we figured that for our third annual this time, we'll do it in North Carolina. And it'll be probably a little bit easier to get our local GOP involved. We're a purple state, and we absolutely need to win big. And with Charlotte being the RNC convention this year, it's probably going to be a really good place to kind of start it up this year.
Yeah, and I think North Carolina, while you do have Charlotte in that major metropolitan center, pretty blue leaning, it does seem North Carolina, though, is, a lot of veterans over there, very conservative leaning outside of the major metro areas. I think with Trump this year, you could be looking at North Carolina. I think it'll be red for sure, but I'm thinking maybe even next 4 or so elections, you're looking at North Carolina being red.
Definitely. A lot of people get defeated, though, looking at numbers. I ran for office last year. And yeah, there was more registered Democrats than Republicans, but we have a crap ton of independents, and we can win on that. And everybody knows that Donald Trump is the independent kind of guy. He's the guy that anybody would vote for, and a lot of people who even Democrats vote for him. So there's no reason why we can't be completely red. We won back the local House and Senate in North Carolina, and we've been making North Carolina great again.
And there was, I do believe, going through my memory, I want to say North Carolina 9, the Democrats had about 20,000 votes pour in at midnight, flipping that seat from an incumbent Republican. I could be wrong about that. It may have been Virginia, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And North Carolina did flip all of those seats. But my point is, I just think that where the Democrat Party is right now, they're not reaching the type of voter that's in North Carolina. They're looking to reach the type of voter that is, in New York City, in Los Angeles, maybe in downtown Charlotte. But to the majority of North Carolina citizens, I don't think the Democrats really have a message that resonates with them.
No, the message is we have a lot of black voters here, and the message is, hey, you voted for us before. Go ahead, just follow. It's a whole lot of negative identity politics here to get people to vote, and they are voting against themselves, and it makes no sense. It's here like in North Carolina, they talk about the teachers not getting enough money. Yet ever since the Republicans have been in, they've gave him raise after raise after raise after raise and improved him. And we've improved North Carolina. That's why we haven't had to borrow money, and we're in a surplus. But the Democrats will still go, we don't like the direction that North Carolina is going. What do you mean, progressive? Because that's what we are doing. We progress, you know. So it absolutely makes no sense. So that's why we're doing this rally. I mean, we wanna get. I started out wanting to do it in Washington D.C. because I wanted to recognize Pride Month. I've had a lot of opposition on that because people don't really understand that Pride Month's no different than a Black History Month or a Women's Month, and I have arguments with that people over that. So I figured, look, we'll do the March for Trump. We want to wake up people. We want to make sure that people are more moderate, independent mindset, viewpoints are served our best interests. We want to come together and be a voice for the nation. And we want to show that together we're making America great always and together. You know, we're going to help register voters. We're going to get people to pledge and volunteer their time to really help out the candidates. So winning not just the White House again, but winning and keeping what we have and winning back the Senate. It's very important. And for us,
and I know that you're doing a lot of activism. Like I said, I mean, you've got MAGA on radio, you've got the March for Trump you're scheduling, you've got the LGBTexit that you've got too here. And, you know, it kind of brings me to my next point where you had a story come out. Saudi Arabia is beheading gays still, beheading homosexuals still over there. And so Trump comes out today and designates the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist group. I think it's all kind of tied together, at least in ideology. And the left pushes back against this. The Democrats push back against this. I mean, this is an actual quote here from the New York Times. I mean, think of it what you want. Here I quote today from Maggie Haberman, Eric Schmidt, Charlie Savage story at New York Times. Trump pushes to designate Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist group. The White House is pushing to issue an order that would designate the Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization, bringing the weight of American sanctions against a storied and influential Islamic political movement with millions of members across the Middle East. So, storied and influential, in being intolerant towards gay people. So, is that the kind of stuff that you use when you talk about the LGBTexit and you have Democrats and liberals fighting you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of brought up the term as like LGBTQ quit. So the LGBT exit pretty much is, you know, why is the LGBT listening to the left when constantly they're telling you that the right is anti-Semitic. They're telling you the right is, you know, they're worried about evangelistical. They spend all day trying to talk about Mike Pence, people shocking people not giving us rights, people wanting us dead or supposedly. And they're always talking about the right, the evangelisticals who might want to pray for our soul. They're worried about our soul. But then they ignore the fact that there's radical Sharia loving people out there, that their whole instance is to take away Western civilization, to throw gays off of buildings, to behead women, to beat up people, to definitely attack Jewish people. So it absolutely makes no sense. And they reel us in on gay rights. I'm sorry, we are getting what we need. You know, and then you threw in the whole transgender thing, and even the gays don't even really follow that. It's argument back and forth on that issue.
Let's get more into this double standard on the other side, and then what we do to expose it, and some other stuff. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Infowars.com War Room, brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com. Peter Boykin is my guest. Marchfortrump.net. Marchfortrump.net is where you can find all the information on his 2019 March for Trump. We were just talking about how, well, I'll move it forward, actually. Trump designates the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist group. Well, yeah, I mean, that's President Trump standing up for the LGBT movement in America to stop the Muslim Brotherhood group from, you know, chopping their heads off and such. So it's nice, but it's funny that, you know, and Kurt Schlichter pointed this out today. The liberals complain that the NRA is a terrorist organization, and then the liberals complain that Trump would dare call the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. So again, it just shows the double standard of the left here. But I mean, why is it so hard for, I guess, just liberals in general, but I guess more specifically, ones that would be targeted by Muslims should Sharia law or whatever people want to call it hit the West? Or, I mean, how is it that they're missing this? Do they not know what happens in countries where Islam is run by the state, or do they just not care because they hate Trump that much?
Well, honestly, I think that a lot of Americans, especially liberals, they suffer through, what they call liberal logic, but they suffer through it doesn't happen in this country. They don't recognize what happens. I mean, there was the wake-up call when 49 people got killed in Orlando for a little bit, and then it all reset, and it's like 9/11 happened, and then it all reset. It's like you forget that the rest of the world exists. We're kind of arrogant on that thing, and they don't understand that this kind of stuff goes on in other countries. I've got a friend up in Canada says there was a bombing that happened a week ago. He's worried about every single day. There's immigrants and stuff trying to beat people up. I mean, we might need a northern wall before we get our southern wall. I don't get it. It absolutely makes no sense that you have the left arguing about, Christians and stuff like that, and calling us white supremacists and everything else, have an SPLC that has a list of people, and they completely ignore. But then again, social media says if you say the I word or the M word or whatever, and you're categorizing a whole nation of people. So if you get online and you say something about Muslims, then next thing you know, you're talking about all Muslims, and you're saying that all Muslims are bad. But they get online, talk about Christians and evangelisticals and everybody, and all of a sudden all Trump supporters, all Republicans are bad. They're not getting kicked off for that. But we even mention one thing about a Muslim or something, then you get kicked off, which is the reason why I normally don't say Muslim. I'll say Sharia, loving Islamic,
Well, but let's kind of personalize this, because I mean, these are all, I mean, it's tough to actually sit here and debate, an entire culture or group of people. It's a ton of people, but we can use like little flashpoints. Like, for example, you had the swimsuit Sports Illustrated edition, which you had a funny tweet on. I didn't actually look through it, but there was another one of the Muslim model wearing, I mean, it looks like literally, I guess it's a burqa trash bag swimsuit or something. And you say it's funny. Where are the environmentalists on this? Plastic trash bags do not belong in the ocean. Yeah, there's also another one I saw too, where it literally looks like she's wearing a trash gown laying in the ocean. But here's the point. Not even just the black one. There's like a one where she's like a weird colored outfit, and it literally looks like trash floating in the ocean. But here, I mean, let me get to the point.
She's pretty though. She's pretty though. I don't get it. But then somebody else compared she thinks she's making waves back to when we wouldn't let women wear things to a certain height, where you couldn't see their knees. So, but I'm like, are we going backwards? I mean,
so exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So let's look at the culture here, because that's what this is. This is a clash of culture. This is a culture shock. Just like a Muslim in a very Orthodox Muslim community or culture sees, let's say Kate Upton on the Sports Illustrated thing, half naked, that's a culture shock to them. If that invaded their countries and they saw that, they would be like, whoa, I can't take this. We cannot stand for this. That's not even what Americans are doing with the Sports Illustrated thing. It's a culture shock to us that it's like, hey, wait a second. I thought, we liberated women here. I thought that we didn't celebrate the hijab, which is women's oppression. I thought that we let women make millions of dollars if they are considered beautiful and put on a bikini and do a photo shoot. Now it's just, let's embrace Islam and women's oppression. So it's not even that, like, it's just this culture shock. Just like it would be culture shock to take a Sports Illustrated swimsuit to the Middle East, that would be culture shock for them. So when you bring that to this swimsuit edition, that's culture shock here. But it's like, oh no, we're just intolerant because we don't want to have a woman in a trash bag hijab burqa outfit pretending to be a swimsuit model.
Well,
and you notice how no one complained either. No one complained when they featured all of these Muslim women on Vogue and everything. We don't care. This is a swimsuit model edition. That's not a swimsuit. Nobody swims in that.
You would drown. You would drown in that. And you know what? You bring up a good point to kind of combat them back. There's got to be a surplus of old swimsuit editions. I think we should just airdrop them over there in their country. Might just freak them out. Who knows? Who knows what they might do?
No, but that's the whole point. Well, we were told they blew up the Twin Towers because of it. Yeah, that video that nobody really knows about. I mean, we were supposed to buy that garbage. Yeah, I don't think so. So I want to get to one. I want to get to one more thing, though. I'm sorry to cut you off because I think you said this. I think you said this tongue in cheek when we were talking earlier. So people are now saying Jacob Wool staged the claims against Pete Buttigieg over there. And so we were kind of having a joke, and you were saying, oh, no, whatever. They do this to Republicans all the time. They do it to Trump. They did it to Kavanaugh. I mean, I assume you were being tongue-in-cheek saying we should do it to them. However, I think there is an argument for that. Now, I don't support that. I don't think we should ever do that, and I could never do that as my role here. But I do think there's a point to saying, now, wait a second, what is fair in love and war when they do this to Trump with fake sex assault claims? They do this to Kavanaugh. They try to destroy the Supreme Court. So they sit here and they lie about sexual assault all day long through their teeth, never apologize, never admit they're wrong. It looks like it may have happened this one time and it was staged. I'm sitting here saying, hey, this is wrong. It shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry that we mentioned it. They never do that. But don't you think it's fair to sit here and say, well, what is fair in love and war when they sit here with false accusations all day long?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, I see it as I see this. I'm not sure what was going on. I now see the Daily, whatever they are, Beast, which I don't exactly trust. They want to pin it on Jacob. It doesn't mean Jacob actually did it. I don't know.
No, I hope Jacob makes a public comment and admit the truth, whether he did it or not. I hope he says, yeah, this is what happened.
The doubt is there. The doubt is there. So are we supposed to be like liberals? Are we supposed to believe the accuser? So if we're supposed to believe the accuser, like they did with Chrissy Ford, they beat the dead horse until it was dead, and then they brought it back to life, and then they beat it some more, and then they called it a donkey. But where do we stop? So are we supposed to do the hashtag Me Too? Are we supposed to be calling out? Because there was Democrats calling out her, and they still continued it. So now we got Republicans calling out our person. So are we really supposed to continue this? I have no clue. And I honestly, I just reported it on. I don't know what to believe. I really don't.
Well, and again, that's the difference, though, is that we're sitting here covering it, reporting on it, and whether it ends up being a hoax or real, we're going to tell you the truth. We're not in it for an agenda. That's the difference, though. Like you said, I mean, even Jussie Smollett, I mean, they're trying to now say Jussie Smollett was set up. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I already called the fact that he was going to talk about he had a drug problem or some other extra stuff. And, he knew what he do. He knew what he was doing. He was wearing the noose around his neck with the Subway sandwich on his hand still an hour later or so, talking about the whole, I got beat up by some MAGA country people. Not in that area. I'm sorry. It's definitely not MAGA country.
No, and I hope that those two Nigerians are really gonna stand up for themselves here, because I mean, it looks like Smollett basically set them up and is then trying to bury them, claiming they did the whole thing. So I actually hope that they stand up for themselves and that they win this lawsuit against Smollett's attorneys for defamation. Peter Boykin, thank you so much. Follow him on Twitter at Peter Boykin, marchfortrump.net for the information on the March for Trump 2019.